Thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to our panelists for taking the time to be here today. My name is Grace Varghese, and I'm a business director for her STEM space. And the session today is going to be hosted by myself and Julia, who is a fellow director at her STEM space. Um, for those of you who do not know, we her STEM Space is a 501(c)(3) student-led nonprofit organization focused on expanding access to STEM education in underserved communities, particularly in Title I schools where STEM and arts programs are often underfunded or cut entirely. So if you're a high school student who is interested in STEM, we truly encourage you to become a member of our organization. Towards the end of the meeting, we're going to have some more information on how to join us and become a volunteer. So today we are honored to be joined by two outstanding professionals in the STEM community. We are joined with Ms. Elisabetta Valiante, who is a lead of scientific and applied computing at 1QBit, and Ms. Romina Yalovetsky, who is a VP researcher at JPMorgan Chase Quantum. Thank you to our panelists for taking the time to be here today. The entire Her STEM Space team is truly grateful for you guys taking your time to share your knowledge and experiences with our community. So now we're going to be going into our structured Q&A, which is going to be led by Julia. We encourage everybody to keep their microphones muted and their cameras on to stay engaged as our panel progresses. And then after the moderated discussion, we're going to have an opportunity for our audience to ask any questions that they may have. So feel free to write them any questions that you think of during the discussion so that you can ask them towards the end of the meeting. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Julia to begin our discussion.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace, for that introduction. And again, speakers, thank you for being here. So to begin, my first question is, could you both each briefly share a little bit about yourselves and what made you want to pursue STEM?
We're starting?
Go ahead, Elisabetta.
Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, my name is Elisabetta Valiante. I always liked math, so always wanted to like science. I wanted to be a scientist since I started primary school, probably. And then around high school, I decided I wanted to be an astronomer. So I studied physics in university and I pursued a career in astronomy for a few years. I did a PhD in astronomy, and then I was in university covering postdoc positions for a few years. At some point, I wanted to leave academia. I looked for opportunity outside of academia, and I was hired at 1QBit, which is a quantum company. I don't do strictly quantum work, but I've been there for 8 years. I do more classical optimization, but I'm learning more about quantum. I will probably move soon into some more work quantum related. So this is my story.
Hello, everyone. I'm Romina Yalovetsky. I'm a physicist. A little bit about my career. I think also very similarly as you, Elizabeth. I think when I was in primary school, I was really into math. Then I remember in high school when we started to have laboratories. I really like physics and that idea of working in a lab. But then I pursued my career in physics at university, and I worked a few years as a software developer. And I started to start moving, getting closer to computer science. And then I joined this team in which we do research on quantum computing, which is a mixture, a field that puts together physics and computer science and also some other sciences. So yeah, and I've been doing research in quantum computing for almost 8 years now.
Very cool. Thank you both for sharing. I find it very interesting that it's kind of similar, the path you both had as to a young interest in STEM, especially. My next question for you both is, as women leading in highly technical and traditionally male-dominated fields, what challenges have you faced during your career and how did you overcome that?
Okay, I have to say in astronomy, I never had the feeling that was a male-dominated field. Historical, probably yes, but it's probably one of the first field that is actually quite balanced. There are so many women astronomers. On the other side, quantum is definitely a male-dominated field. I have to say, I don't have any particular challenge that I can say. I've been quite a tomboy myself since I'm a kid. I don't know if this helped, but I never felt like being a woman was a challenge. I know there are challenges. I have friends, I have colleagues that have bad stories to tell. So I'm not saying that there are no challenges. Um, Fortunately, they are not my stories, but what I want to say is that it's important to find allies. And allies, of course, can be other women, but also can be men. So I like to share. I like to read some things that I don't like. I try not to take it personally. Oh, it's happening because I'm a woman. I just try to speak with other people and saying, I don't like this. Do you feel the same way? Do you have the same experience? If the experience is different and they are men, well, let's ask some questions. But yeah, that's the kind of feelings that I try to share with others, and not necessarily be in contrast with others, not necessarily assign everything to, oh, it's happening because I'm a woman, but just trying to find allies everywhere.
Um, in my case, I would say that I don't know if it's this feeling is because I'm a woman. So sometimes I think, at least for me, it's hard to realize if it's because maybe quantum computing is a male-dominated field. Of course, through my career, I've been closer to more men than women in the field. Is something that we see both. I see from college and then now also in the professional life. But something maybe that I think it's a challenge for me has been, and I think I'm continue working on that. Maybe is to advocate more for myself. Um, Now I realize that I need to dedicate time to think about my career, what I want to do, to reflect more, and to have an opportunity to reach out to people and ask for help. I think that's something that maybe I haven't seen much in my peers. So maybe I didn't do it. But then I realized that it's super important that one start to advocate for yourself.
Thank you for those insights. I find it interesting that you both mentioned some sort of finding a trusted person or someone to rely on and also advocating for yourself. That ties in pretty nicely to my next question. Looking back, was there any specific moment, opportunity, or mentor that had a big impact in your career, and why was that?
Mm.
Do you want to go first, Romina? I feel that I'm.
Okay. Um, I think it's such a good question. So I've been thinking about this question for the last few days. Um, I would say maybe something that was very important at that time, maybe I didn't realize. I think it's with the people that you are close to. So I think now I really think that one of my best decisions was the high school. I decided I wanted to go, and then of course the university, and then the company I joined. So I realized that being surrounded with people that I can really trust and you can grow with and can help you through moments that you struggle. And if you think professionally or academically, in our fields that are, you need to study a lot, you need to dedicate a lot of time to that, having a supportive network. So now one example is that I remember when I failed an exam when I was at high school, I was really, really young. I think something that helped me there to build confidence, it was like to be together with my friends and to feel like I had people to trust on, and they'd be like really supportive of, come on, continue, you can do it. So I would say that.
I agree that peers are very important for the bad moments. I want to highlight another side, like be bold, because I made a couple of choices. Like when I decided to do the PhD, I tried in the university where I graduated in Rome. In Italy, it's very common to stay in the same university or not move too far if you don't have connections. But I didn't pass the exams anywhere. There were very few positions. So I just sent applications around and I got a position in Munich at Max Planck Institute. I discovered later that it's one of the biggest and most famous in their field, groups of astronomy in their field. And having the opportunity to do the PhD there changed all my career. Like I worked together with other people as good as me, even better than me. But at the end, I had publications that were cited everywhere. And I don't want to minimize my work. I did a good job, but not so much better than other people. But because the group was very well connected, because the topic I did my PhD was so hot, I was known everywhere I went to conferences. So I read your paper. I heard about those results, and I said, "Oh my God, is this about me?" So that helped me a lot. It was definitely a choice that changed my career, helped a lot my career. And in quantum, again, when I decided to change, I had no experience in quantum. I tried to highlight in my CV when I applied for research companies in the private sector to highlight what was useful, also outside of astronomy. And when I got an offer from one qubit, I couldn't believe it. I said, "Oh my God, I thought they were all about quantum. I have no experience in quantum." And again, just be bold, paid back. I've been in the company for 8 years. I think I'm doing a good work. I like my job, and so be bold, pays back. Like there is always time to say, "Oh, I don't like what I'm doing. I want to change," but it's we don't want to say, "Oh, I should have tried at the time because now my life would be better."
I think it's very interesting that you both mentioned a support network. That's very important when pursuing a career, whether you're unsure or you are sure, there's definitely scary moments. I'm curious for my next question. Were there any moments that you had where you questioned whether you belonged in your field and what helped you build the confidence to keep moving?
Um, well, I can say going back to the PhD, when I moved abroad, when I moved to Germany, after maybe 2, 3 months, I just started my PhD. And I was like, my group was organizing a conference, so I was invited to the conference. I was not very fluent in English. I was just starting understanding what was going on in that research field, because even if I studied astronomy, it was not exactly the field. Did more cosmology, and there they were studying more galaxy evolutions. So there were so many things I didn't know, and I had all this conference with people presenting. Like in conferences, it's not a lecture. People present very fast, and there are different accents, different type of English languages. I was completely lost, and I said, "I'm not understanding anything from any point of view. No language, no topics. What am I doing here?" And as before, what helped me to go ahead was having all my peers there, and asking like other PhD students that started with me or started just a few months before me, and asking, "Are you getting this? Is it just me?" And some of them say, "Oh, I'm not getting anything." Some of them say, "Don't worry, that's normal. I was like you last year. It's gonna get better." So again, having a support network. There are moments where you feel, I felt like a failure, or I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And having a support network of people, your peers, or even mentors in some case, can definitely helps, because everybody have these moments, and everybody like what helped at some point is that you discover that you know something, and you can teach something to other people. So the first moment I felt really, "Oh my God, maybe I did the right choice," it was when a few years later, for the first time, I told my supervisor how to do something. Because like all our meetings were like, I had questions, or I was explaining how I wanted to do something, and he said, "Oh, well, you should do this way." And I also went back to my office thinking, "Oh, I should have thought of that. I should have read more, go more prepared to this meeting." And the time that he said, "Yeah, we should do this, but we will have to think how to do it." And I told him, "Oh, yeah, I already thought about this. We should do this, this, and this." And he said, "Yeah, well, sounds fine. Go ahead." I left the office for the first time thinking, "Oh my God, I said something right." So there are good and bad moments, and that's keep the good moments to go ahead, and let's have a support network for the bad moments. And also be a support for the others, because of course we want to help others when they have their bad moments.
I think I'm very much on the same line. I remember maybe one time, I think many times in my life, I had this question like, is this the right field for me, or is this the right job for me? Um, and I think that the very first times I had this when I was preparing to go into physics into college. I was doing 1 year of like entrance to school that you need to pass all the tests in order to get I admitted into the school. Um, and I was taking algebra, which was super, super hard. It was extremely hard. And I remember I failed one of the exams and I left the school. This was part of my high school. I left my high school and I remember I called my mom crying, telling her, I think we made a mistake. This is not my career. We should think about like changing everything. And I was like crying, and my mom was like, come on, you need to calm down. And then I realized that in those moments, like the question is not that I should not ask myself is if I belong to this field or if I can do it. It's more like I'm up to do everything that I can to make this happen. And then I realized, okay, maybe I will need to study more. Maybe I will need to take more time. Maybe I will need to take this course again. But if I really want to study physics and I want to develop my career in physics, that's okay. I will do whatever it needs. So I think that changing that question really helps, because I know if, at least to me, sometimes it appears, and then it's very easy to say, okay, the question is different. Like I'm up to keep on doing, keep on reading, keep on preparing, keep on trying. And then if you change that scope, I think it really helps.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing those experiences. I'm glad to hear that they positively impacted your mindset, although led to many challenges and ups and downs on the way, I'm sure. Could you each share, I know you have very different pathways, so I'm very interested to hear. Could you each share a project that fundamentally changed how you think about your field or maybe challenge one of your assumptions you had going in?
You
Yes.
go.
Well, my
No, no.
question, my answer will be very short because I thought about this. I don't know because on one side, um, like for astronomy, there was no for physics in particular. I'm thinking more than astronomy. I'm thinking more about particle physics. There are no big changes, big discoveries that challenge the theory. In a way, there will not be. On the quantum side, or the other side, we are at the beginning of a revolution. Like there are so many things we still don't know. Not about the physics. The physics, as I said, particle physics, quantum physics is well known, but about how are we going to develop this technology? What will be the advantages? Um, what is the physics, the physical systems that actually will work in scaling up and in making these quantum computers everybody talks about. So this is challenges me every day because when I started working 9 years ago, we had a completely different paradigm. It was more about optimization. We were using annealers. And in these 9 years, so many new technology showed up that we advanced in quantum circuits. There are different type of qubits. There are superconductors. There are spins. There are ions. There is a web page. It's called Qubit Zoo. You can see how many technologies are around, and there are so many new companies. So every day is a new is a challenge to what was before. Sorry, maybe my answer was not as short as I expected.
Um, I don't know. I think I would say maybe my very first paper. Um, because by that time, I think I put a lot of effort in thinking about the algorithm, here we introduce an algorithm, a quantum algorithm, trying to tackle one particular application. And we had some experiments. So most of my time and effort was around those technical aspects of the work. And then when it came the time to sit down and write a paper and submit to journals and present to conferences, I started to realize that it was so important to think about the story behind the paper. And this thing that is not just a report that you take everything that you did and you write down. You really need to think about a story behind it, how to put the results there, what's the best venue to submit the paper. I think for that particular paper, we were very confused because initially we thought about one target venue, thinking, okay, maybe this paper is more into the application. Then we thought, no, maybe it's more into physics. Oh, no, maybe it's more computer science. So given that it was more in the intersection of many fields, and of course I was very inexperienced, it was very hard to understand what journal was a good fit. So at the moment, I realized that a really big part of the work that we do as researchers is not just working on running experiments and thinking about the algorithms, but also then working on all of this. And I realized how much time it takes because you submit your paper, you get the reviews, you make maybe some extra experiments, you improve your paper, you send it again. Um, I think that was very interesting. It really opened me up, like what is to do research.
Thank you both for sharing. I'm glad to hear that there's very different answers on that, Elisabetta. I like how you highlighted every day is always changing, especially within the field of STEM. And Romina, I'm glad you shared that finding a story was important, especially when it came to your research. That leads nicely into my next question, actually. Technical expertise is always pointed out to be essential in STEM, but communication is also something that's very important. Do you think there's moments that were in your career that helped you exemplify your ability to explain complex ideas, and how has that influenced your career or leadership opportunities down the line?
Mhm. Do you want to go first? Elisabeth?
I say that as a teacher has been
Mhm.
a great like a way to learn how to communicate, with different level of knowledge. Um, and also yes, give you the patience to explain, give you the opportunity to go in the position of the audience and think, what do they know, what do they want to hear, and what is the best way to explain this? Is that, or maybe you find your way and then you understand that you get questions, they clearly you understand that what you said is not clear. You say, okay, is there a different way to explain this? uh, Teaching was a great way to train about explaining. Of course, going to conference as well, but going to conference is different. It's very fast and nobody's giving you feedback. While with teaching, well, you get the official channel for feedback, but you also have to mark the papers. And when you see that the message didn't reach the target, you say, okay, I clearly did something wrong. So let's go back and let's correct something.
I think in my case, I realized how important it is, maybe as I mentioned before, in terms of the papers and in terms of the research, but also in terms of working in a company. And I realized how important it is to be able to communicate the science that we do to the business or to project managers or to different people that of course they are not involved in our day-to-day work, and we go to them and we would like to explain, okay, this is what we did, could be the impact. I realize how important it is. I would say for a career in the enterprise is of absolute importance. um, you realize like you could do the best work in the world, like with the best techniques, with the best people, the best expertise. But then if you fail at communicating what you did, and showing the impact of that is really hard to keep on going. You really see a difference like between people that are really good communicators to people that they're still struggling. And it's very interesting because sometimes we don't think that is something that you can train. I think mostly when I was at high school or at the beginning of my career at college, that we are never taught about this. I remember in high school we had one course about like speaking, like, and with some friends we went there, but we were like three people there. All the other ones, they were like, "What is that? I don't really care." Maybe it was in an early age, but then I realized how important it is, and also that you can actually train it. It's not something that you need to born with. And of course, if you're speaking in a language that is not your mother tongue, as is in my case, as you can see, I realized, well, I can practice this. It's not only like knowing English. Also, it's like maybe learning more in how to explain the work. And I think as Elisabetta said, like think a lot about the other person. So when you are presenting your work, it's more important the other person than you. So you really need to think, okay, what this person wants to hear. How can I relate to this person? Rather than thinking, okay, this is my way of thinking and this is the way I explain.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing. I definitely can relate to that. I recently did a presentation and it was very hard for me to figure out what my audience wants to hear. So I'm glad you both touched on that. It's always very important to take in that feedback from your audience and get your storyline aligned to what they would like to hear and what they can take from it. And I like that you mentioned this is not a skill that we're often taught in school. So I'm curious, we have many students in this meeting today, and they're very excited about different emerging technologies, whether it be AI, optimization, or quantum computing as well. I'm curious, what skills would you recommend them to focus on throughout their next decade, whether it be a technical skill or a behavioral skill like communication?
Of course, I'm biased because I'm a physicist, but I think physics gives a very strong, baseline, a very strong support, like mathematics, physics, the rigorous sciences. I want to say chemistry as well, because talking about quantum, of course, I believe the first strong applications will be in the chemistry field. But we've seen like the recent Nobel Prizes were about in physics were something related with computer science. There has been also some discussion, is this really something in physics? But actually many things related to AI or how AI works, many things related to computer science. They have their basic in physics and mathematical structures. So understanding that, having a good grasp of them, I think even if it's a field that evolves very quickly, well, it puts us in a good position to be able to understand whatever new is coming.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I think it's very good to have a really good foundation, as Elisabetta said. Because then if you build from very good foundation, then you can pivot to different fields, to different positions inside the field. So you really have, maybe a freedom to choose and decide what you want to do through your life. I think it's very hard to think about something static through our lives. We change, sometimes our interest changes. Um, we change, we move maybe to another country, we build our families. So it's really important to have a really good foundation that can help you to change maybe your job or your field. So I spent some time thinking about that. What is a very good foundation? I think I agree with you, Elisabetta, with math. It's very important because it's transversal to a lot of fields. But also, I think developing the criteria to be critical thinking. And also these days with the urge of AI and a lot of things being automatized. I think being able to have a critical thinking and being able to go and find the tools that you need for a problem to be able to think about very critically. I think that's super important. And sometimes it's not that academically trained. Of course, I think physics really helps you to have critical thinking in general science. But also I know I never took, a course like how to be critical. But I think that that's really, really important with all the advances with technology.
I agree. Definitely important to find a strong foundation, also be working on your critical thinking skills at a young age and moving into your future as well. I'm curious as to, since we have many high school students in the chat today, many high schoolers aren't sure what they would like to do yet. What would be your advice to students who are still figuring out their future?
I want to say pick something that make you passionate, that you're passionate about, because math is hard, physics is hard, but everything can be hard. And everything is hard if you want to do it at a high level, or if you want to excel, or just simply finding a job can be hard. So, so I think if you do something that rewards you, it's the most important thing, because as we said before, there can be bad moments, there can be failures, but at least we are doing something that rewards us, that we're passionate about. We know that we are suffering through a theorem, through a problems, but the moment we find a solution, the moment the code compiles, is a pleasure that only if we are passionate can feel. If we don't feel that pleasure, then all the pain before has been for nothing. And maybe there are people that want to study because of career, because of salaries. That's also a form of reward, but we are not sure about the world. The world can change, careers changes, even with job applications. We can be lucky, we can be not, with promotions, with salaries. But the rewards that we get, the personal rewards that we get because we do something we're passionate about, and nobody can take that away. So at least let's invest in something we are sure, and everything else, if it comes, it's better. But let's start with something that we are sure that we have a pleasure when we do, when we reach our goal, when we reach our result.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's super important to work in something that you're really passionate about. I think a very good question to ask yourself is how would you like a day of you to look like? Um, and then you can connect with professionals working in different fields that you feel interested in and have this conversation how a day in your life looks like. Do you travel a lot? Do you go to your office? Do you stay at home? Do you work in isolation or do you work very collaboratively? Um, I think that's super important because sometimes, at least when I decided to go into physics, the main thing that we look at was, okay, what were the courses about? Um, we get a vibe of how is to be there in the school. Like I want to meet to be in the building, to meet with some students. And I really like it. It was like, well, this is super cool. Like I see these people working on this, and I really felt something there. I always say that also trust your intuition. If you enter these places and you feel comfortable, and it's very crazy. I know it's something that still happens to me. Like now I'm doing a master's in computer science. And every time that I go to the library at NYU, I feel nice. I feel like this is my place. Um, so, trust your intuition, but then also go on and speak with people that are actually working. Because at the end of the day, going through university and all the study that we do, is to later be able to work in what we learned, right? So it's very nice to see how that people work, how that people think, to feel like if that's the right way for you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Very insightful. I definitely agree with both your pieces of advice. especially I think it's important you mentioned reaching out to professionals in the field. So thank you both for being here today and giving us your insights. I think this is a great start for many of the people in the chat to get some insight on fields they're interested in. So throughout the time we've had today, we talked about a lot of your journeys, the challenges you've overcome, and the lessons that you learned along the way. To close out of our structured Q&A session, I'd love to ask you one final question. What would be one piece of advice you would leave with the young generation of women who are aspiring to become leaders within STEM?
It was one of the hardest questions.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure
hope
there's a lot to go
I
through.
hope I already have advice. Like I say, if it's particular for women, I want to say be yourself. Don't try to be like men. Also because I met many men, they're not all the same, so it's impossible. And there are nice men and bad men, and so. And try to be nice with other people, not because you are a woman, but because it's better to be nice. And this is the same suggestion I give to men. As I said before, it's important when you talk, when you are in an environment of work or studying, to have allies, to have a network of support. If you are a lead, it's even more important to be in the position of your reports or the people you are responsible for, to understand if they have challenges, if they feel completely comfortable in their work. So I want to say be nice with everybody and try to be in the shoes of other people and think what are their, as a leader, think what are their challenges and how you can help them. But same with your peers, always think how you can help them. I really believe if you help other people will help you. And so I like to be the first one to be nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, I think that's very nice what you're saying. Like be the driver. You know, if you would like to work in a space that is like this, like people treat themselves with respect, and people that are kind and helpful, in order for you also to grow, I think it's very good to start with the example. Um, and I think like if you know that you want to develop a career in STEM and that's your passion, just go and do it. Don't wait for an invitation, you know. Sometimes I know we may think that we will get invited, you know, that maybe your manager or your PI or someone in your lab will think about you and will come and say, hey, I have this project for you. That could definitely happen, but not always, you know. So if you have a good idea, if you want to do something, go and say it and ask for that. Like, hey, I have this idea. Can we do it? What it takes to do this. So have the initiative and go for that. Sometimes I think that we wait, sometimes as the planet to be aligned. So maybe we want everything to be ready. You know, I want to have these degrees. I want to have all these readings behind me. I want to be super prepared in order to take a project. But sometimes that's really hard. It's not actually a real blocker. Sometimes, at least in my experience, it could be my own blocker, you know. So with humility and passion, I think if you really want to do it, just go and start doing it.
Thank you both for that, for the insights. I really appreciate how you both emphasized on having kindness, empathy, and also taking initiative because it shows that STEM isn't only about having that technical ability, but also about communicating with the people around you and understanding the people around you. So with that, thank you for leaving it on such a nice note. I'm going to pass it over to Grace now.
Thank you, Julia, for leading such an insightful discussion with our panelists. Now is an opportunity for all of our attendees to ask any questions that they may have for our panelists. So if you have a question, just use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and then we will call your name and you can ask your question. Morgan, would you like to ask a question?
Hi, yes. Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm currently studying astrophysics, and I know I'm pretty sure that I want to pursue academia and specifically become a professor. You both highlighted the importance of communication frequently. Uh, in with your fields and in STEM in general. So I was just wondering how you guys recommend like developing that skill, being able to practice it and learning to hone it for the future.
Yes, definitely is a good skill to have. Important to make actions, to communicate with students if you want to be a professor. Together with just communication, just the way to speak, the way to prepare a presentation, what Romina said before is very important. Understand who you are in front. Is it the director of a department you are interviewing with? It will be probably more interesting in knowing your long-term projects to attract students or to attract funding than about the last bug you found in your code. Are they students? Probably they're more interested in hearing how what they are doing, what you are explaining connects to another topics or connects, I don't know, with some piece of the news or I don't know if it was a good example, but if you are presenting to a funding company, a funding entity, they are more interested in knowing what are the applications, maybe of your method or how many publications. So it's not just a matter of putting together a nice speech, but it's a matter of being to empathize with the person you are in front, the audience you're in front of the single person, who you have to convince, who you want to connect, what are their topics that vibrates with them.
Yeah, it's totally. Sure, go ahead.
I was just gonna say thank you. I really appreciate it.
I wanted to add something that could sound silly, but to me it's super important and helpful is to practice. Practice many times before going, and if you have the opportunity to ask a family member or a friend or a peer, can I show this to you? And practice, like rehearse method, that's a word, to rehearse it as if was in that situation. That is extremely useful because you build confidence in yourself because yeah, I've like made this presentation 1 or 2 times before, so you build confidence in yourself, and also you get feedback, and people can tell you, I don't know, maybe can you elaborate more on that, or this is not that clear. um, so I think that's super useful. It's a way of practicing, building confidence, and this to me has been very beneficial.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it.
Nia, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have kind of a more specific question. I have a lot of friends and peers. I currently attend Tuskegee University. I'm a rising senior, but I'm in engineering. A lot of my friends did a Department of Energy, National Science Foundation, like quantum computing materials research project. But because of the DEI cuts that we had a hard time or they had a hard time continuing with the program, and the program lost a lot of funding. Also because of, the National Science Foundation being defunded. So they've been trying to look for other quantum computing and quantum mechanics internships, and they already have that experience. So what advice would you give to them to entering the field next year?
That's a very specific question. I say that there are many companies that look for interns, and of course, having an experience with um, governative entities helps. So just keep an eye on companies that have opening for internship, and also try to contact them just to know in advance maybe not spam everybody, but just sending a nice email to the HR or just to general contact of the company saying, oh, I'm available to do this. I know this. I'm wondering when you will have opportunity for internship, because sometimes companies are looking for interns, so there are openings, but sometimes they are not actively looking for. But interns, from the point of view of companies, are very cheap, so it's very easy to find money for them. So it's if there is a nice application with motivations and a nice background, maybe a company can say, "Oh, you know what? This person looks interesting. Let's invite them." And as I said at the beginning, be bold because we don't pay for email yet. So it's again, I don't recommend to spam like to send the same email to 100 people in the same company. That is too much. But just sending specific emails to specific company, maybe doing a little bit of research and saying, "Oh, I really love to work there because I read this paper for my previous project and I noticed you're working in the same field." And just as I said before, touching the right chords for each person you want to communicate to.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'll try to tell them.
Good luck.
Yeah, and I would like to add that also networking. Um, Sometimes I know if you can find events around quantum that could be interesting. Sometimes, we have these networking sessions, and it's very good to get closer to people. And as Elisabetta said, like be bold in those situations. Ask them, hey, do you have interns? For example, in our firm, we usually have interns every summer. I don't know about next summer because still we have some interns now, but of course keep an eye on that. And if there are opportunities for networking, try to go there and make connections. And also may have this in mind, like to start building a network. It takes time. So it's good to start going once in a while. If you see an event, go and see. Uh, it's not a waste of time. Like you can go if you feel like, okay, this is not for me. It's not that interesting. You just leave. But I think it's good to give yourself a chance and start connecting with people and then keep connected. And I think that's super useful. That's a way of getting to know too about like some open positions. And also, as Elisabetta said, sometimes there are no open positions, but someone can put your name or suggest you, and once a position is open, you can be considered.
Okay, thank you.
Sophia, would you like to ask your question?
Right. Yeah. I was just gonna ask, in terms of like getting to the career that you like dream about, like for me, it's like aerospace engineering. That's my kind of like what I want to end up doing. And physics, is there any like right pathway to get to there? Like in terms of either education or like what you do leading up to eventually getting that career? Like how do I know if I'm doing the right thing to put myself in the best position? Or like what if I mess up? How do I know that I'm doing the correct thing?
A very question. Very good question. I think if you can find a role model, someone to look after, um, sometimes it's hard, and I imagine also in aerospatial engineering. But I know once you said that, there is one lady in Argentina who is like preparing to being an astronaut, and she's going to be like the very first astronaut, female astronaut from Argentina. So she started to be a really role model for a lot of people. And actually for myself, like I'm not into that field, but I started to follow her and to see her what she does, and it's really good. Like if you can try to find someone to look after, um I think that's super good. And also if you feel like reaching out to that person, hey, can we have a chat, share with me a little bit about your career. I think that's super good.
Yeah, totally agree. Like having role models and try to follow the same path can be a guidance. An alternative, or in addition, something complementary to that might be looking at your peer. Like you said, how do I know if I'm doing it wrong? I don't want to be pessimistic, just giving another side of the story. Maybe sometimes we choose the wrong path. Maybe we are not doing. I can take actually my experience. Like I wanted to do an academic career. I wanted to become a professor. Eventually, I knew it was hard. I knew that it takes a lot of years, a lot of time, and you have to move around. When I noticed, okay, people my age, people that started with me, we were doing the PhD together, they are all getting permanent position. I'm still not getting it. Maybe that's not the right thing. Am I ready to do 4, 5 years still in this position? Or maybe I should have a plan B. I think having a plan B is a good opportunity. It doesn't mean we don't want to follow our dreams anymore. It just means that our dreams changed. Like if my dream was working in university, maybe when I was 20, well, when I was 30, when did I change? 35 and still not having a permanent position, well, maybe that's not my dream anymore. And maybe my dream now is having stability, but if I cannot get that stability in university, maybe I should change path. So it's always important to understand what is better for us at any moment and review our goals in time. And if we feel that other people are doing what we want to do and we are not getting it, maybe we are following the wrong path, maybe we are doing the wrong things, maybe it's not for us. There can be many reasons, but just always be ready to rediscuss our goals and our situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would like to add that sometimes we feel like these decisions are like somehow written in stone. But I realized, at least in my case, I studied physics. I joined JPMorgan as a software developer, which maybe we could think that it was like a divergence from my initial goal, which was to do research in physics and do maybe an academic life. But then I realized that that was a super good decision. It really helped me to learn a lot. I really enjoyed that. But then I said, well, I want to go back. And I had the opportunity also to come back and now do research on quantum computing. So it's not that when I decided, okay, let's give it a try to software development, it was like quitting physics or it was something I couldn't come back. I think also to think about that, like you could change, you could try different things. So I wouldn't say that it's like you're doing something wrong. Maybe sometimes you want to try something different, and you always have the opportunity to change again, you know?
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel better.
Actually, I can add another thing on this topic. Paths are not set in stone for nobody. Like nobody knows what is the right path. But even if it was set in stone today, things are changing so fast nowadays. Then, by the way, you get in 3 years, you're following your path set in stone. You're 100% sure it's the right one. And then in 3 years, you have to discover that everything changed. The path is not that anymore because somebody wrote the rules. The world changed so fast that yeah, it's always important to be ready to change, to be open to change, and to use everything we have done for the next step that we need to repeat every time.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, hi, I'm a high school student. So this question is something that I think a lot about for myself because I'm also really interested in quantum computing. Do you guys think that AI is making it harder to get into an entry level role in your respective fields right now? Or is it making it easier or just more different?
We are not yet canceling positions because of AI. So definitely, I think it gives a lot of opportunities. It makes our work much faster, not necessarily easier, but definitely faster. Things move very, very fast. And even AI, changes so fast that we cannot catch up with all the models, with all the programs, with all the news. We use it as much as we can. We try to get as many advantages because if we don't get them, somebody else will get them. But as we said at the beginning, having a good foundation, having a good understanding of math, physics, physical systems, at the end, even AI works with these principles. It make easier, we appreciate somebody that is able to use AI and understand it, understand or having the critical thinking that helps to understand if what AI is saying makes sense or not, if it needs more research. Or sometimes you need to talk with people that are experts, not just with AI. So I don't think it's making giving less opportunities. If anything, gives more because it's much easier to reach information, much easier to study and to get knowledge. But of course, it's more important that people have critical thinking. It's a very powerful tool, but it needs a lot of critical thinking to be used.
Yeah, I just agree. Yeah, I think we are still exploring AI in general, and we are still understanding how we can use it in our jobs. At least in my experience and what I'm seeing in my team is that we are still trying to figure it out. It's not that we can ask them do this and we forget. It's really hard to think about how to govern AI. Um, and I think that at least in our field, have so many challenges that we need a lot of people, brilliant people coming in to help.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so I think that was the last question for our audience Q&A. We're now going to be moving into our closing. But before we officially close, we just want to thank amazing panelists for taking time today to give such insightful answers to all of our questions. On the screen, we have a link or a QR code to our panelists' LinkedIn so that you can follow their professional journeys. And then also, if you're on this call and you're not yet involved with her STEM space, please make sure to check out our website or our Instagram, which has more information on how to become more involved with the Her STEM space community. So to conclude, on behalf of everybody at Her STEM Space, thank you again to our incredible panelists for taking this time, and to everybody who took the time to join our call. I hope that everybody has an amazing day.
Thank you so much. It was very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a
Bye.
great day.